Have you ever wondered why countries like Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti are not part of the East African Community, despite being geographically close? The East African Community, or EAC, is an economic and political bloc that promotes regional integration, trade, and unity. But the Horn of Africa, a region with deep cultural and economic ties to East Africa, remains on the outside looking in. This video explores the historical, political, and economic reasons why the Horn of Africa countries have not joined the EAC and whether they might in the future. One of the main reasons lies in colonial history. The EAC countries were primarily under British colonial rule, which created common administrative systems, infrastructure, and trade policies. On the other hand, the Horn of Africa was shaped by different colonial influences. Eritrea was colonized by Italy, Djibouti by France, and Ethiopia remained independent but had its own imperial system. These different historical experiences led to divergent development paths and administrative structures. Additionally, the Horn of Africa has been plagued by conflicts and wars, such as the Ethiopia-Eritrea border war and Somalia's civil strife, hindering regional integration efforts. Despite early attempts at Pan-African unity in the 1960s, these efforts did not lead to economic collaboration between the Horn and East Africa. Politics also plays a crucial role. The EAC countries have made progress toward democracy and regional cooperation. In contrast, the Horn has seen political instability, authoritarian governments, and ongoing tensions. This political divergence has made it challenging to align the interests of these regions. Economically, the Horn of Africa has historically looked toward the Middle East and Asia for trade, rather than within Africa. Ethiopia's import-export routes through Djibouti, for example, have stronger ties to the Gulf countries than to its southern neighbors. This economic orientation has limited the incentives for closer integration with East Africa. Security concerns are another major factor. With ongoing border disputes and internal conflicts, EAC member states may be cautious about including unstable regions that could pose economic or security risks to the existing bloc. Cultural identity also plays a role. The Horn of Africa has strong linguistic and cultural ties to the Arab world through the Red Sea, while the EAC countries share Swahili as a lingua franca and have a stronger cultural affinity with one another. These cultural differences have contributed to the separate development of these regions. In terms of regional organizations, the Horn of Africa countries are already part of IGAD, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, focusing on drought, conflict resolution, and economic cooperation in their own way. This existing framework has reduced the urgency for joining the EAC. So, despite their proximity, historical differences, political challenges, and economic priorities have kept the Horn of Africa separate from the East African Community. However, with growing economic ambitions and infrastructural projects like the Lamu Port South Sudan-Ethiopia Transport Corridor, we may see closer ties in the future. The potential for increased trade and cooperation between these regions remains, and only time will tell if these historical divisions can be bridged for greater regional integration.